I started my video today outside of my usual spot. It was raining. I was staying dry. Video was going along pretty good, and then all of a sudden it started to pour. Now my shelter held up, but it was getting awful loud in there, and I don't know what the sound quality was like. So decided to bring it inside, kind of out of the rain. It is still raining, but at least I'm not getting wet. Today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about Harley Davidson. As you know, they've been in the news lately with the tariffs and talking about moving their production overseas and what's going to happen. A lot of talk about, are the customers going to stay loyal to Made in America and abandon Harley Davidson, let them go overseas and do whatever they're going to do, or are they going to stay loyal to Harley Davidson and support of them? Get reporters kind of speculating on both sides, and as we've seen before, until you let the people talk and vote or do whatever they're going to do, it's all just speculation, and you just never know. You're going to believe what you want to believe, but when something happens and the people speak with their voices, or their wallets, or whatever, that's when we're going to know what's going to happen. But today, Harley Davidson dropped big news. As they're saying it, they're blowing the doors of their future wide open, and I have to agree with this. The past couple years, they've been putting out different models and tweaking models and kind of coming up with more one-off bikes and just really neat stuff to see from them. But this is a step in a totally different direction. They're going for broader access in several areas. Their customer base, they're looking not just for kind of the heavy cruiser American-made market. They're starting to go more after the urban market and global markets overseas, Asia, India, things like that, with smaller displacement bikes. They are talking about doing more online digital type stuff. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but talking about, I guess, reaching out through the website, harleydavidson.com, and expanding that. They're also strengthening the dealer network, I think in the United States in particular, making it more of a customer experience, I think an overall experience instead of just buying a bike and kind of going. Probably more customer satisfaction focused, things like that. But then also overseas, looking at smaller storefront type shops, making it more accessible to those crowds instead of having these big, huge American dealerships. Really reaching out and getting to the public. So all of that, and on top of that, they talked about new products. Harley Davidson has been known for heavyweight motorcycles. They had Buell for a while, and then when the market kind of went south and they shuttered Buell, everything was large displacement. But then they did come up with the Street 500 motorcycle, which was their smallest and kind of still is their smallest displacement motorcycle. So now they're targeting more models kind of from that 500 to 1250 range. And then I think overseas, the markets are going to be somewhere from like 250 on up. So definitely more models available in there. Back in 2014, they did their Livewire, Project Livewire, I think is what they called it. And it was their electric motorcycle. And they came up with a prototype, took it around to different dealerships, let people ride it, give feedback on it. I think based on that feedback now, they've taken that, they've customized the motorcycle, and now they have the Livewire motorcycle due to hit the market next year, 2019. Looks pretty exciting if you're into the electric motorcycles. I kind of am attracted to them. I think they have some nice advantages, the torque and the speed and just quick acceleration, things like that. My big concern with them is battery life and the range. To this point, I think they've made fairly good commuter bikes, getting to and from work, and maybe semi-long distance, if you want to call it that. I think they need to solve the range problem and the battery problem. Somehow those batteries have to be quick to recharge. I don't mind, if I take a 200, 300 mile trip, I don't want to wait there 6 hours for the bike to recharge or something. But Livewire coming out next year, and then through the next following years, they're going to have other electric models, and they've showed a couple different variations of that on their website. Pretty neat stuff. They also talked about the Street Fighter. So this is more of their sport bike, mid-weight, if you want to call it that. I think 975 cc's. I think years ago, when Harley had Buell was kind of aiming for that American sport bike market. I think they had great ideas. They had terrific innovation. I just don't know if the American market was quite ready for it because of the radical designs and things like that. Sport bikers had their ideal bikes in mind, or styling in mind, and the Buell just didn't fit into that as well. Again, I think they were terrific bikes. I think the innovation on them was way advanced. Maybe now we're kind of getting into bringing the two together. Some of those innovations, I'm sure Harley hung on to those, and they're going to build these into their Street Fighter bikes. The Street Fighter does look more like your traditional sport bike now. So kind of a mid-weight motorcycle aimed at the younger sport bike crowd. Again, it's a smaller mid-weight bike. Not a heavyweight that Harley Davidson is known for. Next up is the future custom bikes, as they're calling them. These are going to be with a more muscular, gritty stance, stripped down, aggressive styling, kind of in that midweight to heavyweight range. I think we're looking at 1,250 cc's, maybe on up, or maybe a little bit less, 1,000 cc's. Definitely more aggressive. I don't give a whole lot of details on that model, but I do think that you're going to see a lot of variations like they've been doing with some of their current models. You'll see some different variations of that. Again, I think they're looking more for an urban type market, downtown cruising, just aggressive. It is a sexy looking bike. And then finally, the one that kind of grabbed me a little bit is their Pan America. I've liked the idea of an on and off-road bike. I've kind of had my eyes on them, not a particular model or anything, but just a bike I would like to get eventually and take a long-distance trip on, both on-road and off-road, and just kind of get into that. And here we have now the Pan America that looks like it's going to meet that. Could it be styled a little bit better? In my opinion, yes. But, again, I don't think they want to go with just your typical styling. Let's come up with something a little bit different, something a little more aggressive. I am looking forward to this. I don't know if it's going to be worth the wait or not. If I'm going to wait, who knows if I'm even going to get one. I mean, it's just, dreaming and things like that. I'd love to put it through its paces when it first came out, maybe do a ride from like the East Coast up to the top of Alaska or something like that. Just put it through its paces, see if it can handle it and what it's going to do, how easy repairs may be on it when you're, on a trip. But again, I like that bike. I'm attracted to it. I have to wait and see it in real life to see. So the models that we've talked about, other than Livewire, they're looking at a 2020 release, so kind of 2 years out from here before we come out. And then I think years following that, more variations of it, more customizations on the different models. So big news for Harley Davidson today. Let's see what happens with all this. I'm kind of excited. I've been reading their press releases and stuff for the past couple of years, and it's like, oh, okay, this is nice. And this one definitely grabbed my attention, and in all fairness and transparency, I am a fan of Harley Davidson, but I am open to other brands. I'm not strictly Harley Davidson. I'm not trying to push Harley Davidson. 2 wheels, a motor, I'm loving it. So I'm not necessarily brand specific. I do have a Harley Davidson now. Also have a Honda that I'm working on getting back on the road. But excited to see what Harley Davidson comes up with and where they go with all this. So that's what I got. Good, exciting news. So stay tuned. We'll see where it goes. I hope you have a great evening, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow.